My name is Jackson, and today I got something special for you, a little something. I get a lot of questions about what is my process when I build or make a prototype tuck case for my playing cards. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm gonna take you along with me today, and we're going to make the LTD Robin Hood tuck case prototype today. And I'm gonna try to kind of show you my basic process of how I kind of go from the computer to the real world and how I make a prototype tuck case. So come along. At the beginning of any project, especially like a deck of playing cards, when you're making a physical product or a physical item like a box or a tuck case for a deck of playing cards, you have to first start with what is called a die line. And a die line is nothing more than the file that the printers and manufacturers use to create basically a plate that has blades on it, that once they've printed the paper, that they use the plate to press down on the paper and cut out your box or your package or whatever that you're creating. And in this case, this is the specific custom die line file for the Robin Hood tuck case. And once I've finished this, at this point, I've already gone through a lot of testing and prototyping and making sure that it fits, making sure that the folds work, making sure the flap fits into where it goes. And so at this point, I'm basically at a final die line file. And it's at this point that I would then start to actually create the artwork that goes on inside of this die line, basically like me coloring in the lines. And so at this point, I'm going to turn on the layer of my artwork. And so this is kind of what it looks like when the artwork is flattened out. So this is what it will look like when it actually gets printed on the piece of paper that the tuck case is printed on. So now I'm gonna print out this file on my printer, and we'll go to the next step. Once I have the tuck case printed from my inkjet printer, I will then take the piece of paper that has the registration marks, and I also print the die line itself on here. This is a little grip mat, cutting mat that has kind of like a tacky self-adhesive substance on it. And what that does is I take this piece of paper and I just line it up and I put it on the little cutting mat just like that. And then what this does, the cutting mat will keep this piece of paper in a stationary spot and not move around while the little CNC blade is going around and cutting the tuck case out. Once the CNC machine is finished cutting, I will just pull the cutting mat out like that. And usually, it's not always perfect, but usually I'll just peel it right off. And then I've got the tuck case, as you can see, is now cut out. And then I just do a little finagling to get it off of that adhesive backing. And then there you go. You've got a tuck case that is cut out and ready to kind of put together. And then at this point, this part of the process, I use this nifty little scoring pad that's basically just a cheap paper, like a scrapbooking thing you can get like at any hobby store. And it has these little grooves that you line up your piece of paper or your whatever you're doing, you want to score. You line up where you want to score with where you want to score, and then you use this bone folder to come down and score it. So I'll just line up each of the score lines with one of the grooves, and then I will take this bone folder and just run it down the score line, and I'll just keep doing that until each each one of the score lines has been scored.
One eternity later.
So now that I'm finished scoring, you will see if I flip it over that I now have score lines anywhere that I need the paper to fold. And from this point, I can then just take these and then fold them over, and I pre-fold it before I assemble the tuck case. It just makes putting it together a lot easier. And then once I got everything pre-folded, normally with a standard tuck case, I will use this wooden block that is the same size as a deck of cards to, put in here and then build that around it. And the wooden block gives me a really firm surface to push against and make sure my adhesive sticks. However, with this deck specifically, the cards of Robin Hood are gonna be both, the cards of Robin Hood are gonna be laminated with gold foil on the front and the back. So that factor is gonna make the cards considerably thicker than a standard deck of playing cards. And that's why for this deck, I'm gonna use this Nutcracker deck as kind of my dummy deck and sizing, because these, the Nutcracker cards are also laminated on the front and the back with gold foil. And so the thickness of this deck is gonna be very similar, if not exactly the same as what Robin Hood is gonna be. And so from there, I will take my adhesive gun, which is this trusty little sidekick right here. And it has a roll of tape that it has adhesive on it. And then when you roll it across a piece of paper, adhesive comes off and transfers to the thing, to the substrate. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to make sure I do the right one. I'm just gonna take the adhesive gun and try not to rip it. Now I've got adhesive on that one. It's clear so you can't really see it. And then I'm gonna do it on this one as well. And then at that point, I can then take I think I did the wrong one, but that's all right. I'll just take my tuck case and then get everything. This is kind of the awkward part. You kind of have to get all the things folded up in the right spot in the right order. Once I got everything in the right spot, I can then fold the top over, make sure it's kind of square as I can be, and then I'll fold over the sides just like that and kind of give it, this is where having a wooden block really helps. I can make sure those sides have stuck really well, and then now I can, it's ready to go. I've got me a tuck case that's built, a prototype tuck case, and then I can give it a little test fit, and then there you go. I've got a Robin Hood LTD prototype tuck case. You can see the flap works good, and if I really wanted to, I could print on the back of this, but that's just way too much work to try to make a prototype work. So there you go. There is the finished Robin Hood prototype. So that's basically my entire process, simplified obviously, of how I make a prototype playing card tuck case. If you enjoyed that video, or you want to see other videos about covering different topics of playing card production and design, just leave a comment below and let me know what topic you want me to cover. That's about it. Take it easy.